You know what's absolutely wild? There's a fighter jet out there that doesn't need to fire a single missile to completely dominate the battlefield. It can blind entire air defense systems, turn sophisticated radar networks into expensive paperweights, and create invisible shields around entire strike packages. And the craziest part? Most people have never even heard of it. We're talking about the EA-18G Growler, and this thing is basically the electronic warfare wizard of the sky. If you've ever wondered how modern militaries actually survive in combat zones bristling with surface-to-air missiles and advanced radar systems, you're about to find out. Because this jet is the reason American pilots can operate in some of the most dangerous airspace on the planet and come home safely. So picture this. It's the early 2000s and the Navy has a problem. They've been flying the EA-6B Prowler for decades, this four-seat electronic warfare aircraft that's been the backbone of jamming operations since Vietnam. But here's the thing, the Prowler is old, like really old. It first flew in 1968, and by the time we hit the new millennium, these aircraft are wearing out. Maintenance is getting harder, parts are becoming scarce, and the Navy knows they need a replacement fast. But instead of designing something completely new from scratch, which would take forever and cost a fortune, they had a brilliant idea. What if we take the A-18F Super Hornet, one of the most capable carrier-based fighters in the world, and transform it into an electronic warfare beast? You'd get the speed, the agility, the modern systems of a frontline fighter, but with the ability to wage war in the electromagnetic spectrum. And that's exactly what they did. Boeing took the two-seat Super Hornet and basically gave it superpowers. They kept about 80% of the airframe the same, which meant pilots already familiar with the Super Hornet could transition relatively easily. But that other 20%, that's where the magic happens. The most obvious difference is sitting on the wingtips. Instead of the standard missile rails you'd see on a regular Super Hornet, the Growler has these distinctive pods called ALQ-218 receivers. These things are absolutely packed with antennas and sensors that can detect radar emissions from incredibly long distances. We're talking about the ability to pick up enemy radar signals from well over 100 miles away. These receivers are constantly scanning the electromagnetic spectrum, listening for any electronic whisper from enemy air defenses. But detecting threats is only half the equation. The real power comes from what's mounted under the wings and on the center line. The Growler carries up to 5 ALQ-999 jamming pods, and these are the business end of electronic warfare. Each pod contains powerful transmitters that can pump out electromagnetic energy across different frequency bands. When these pods light up, they can overwhelm enemy radar systems with so much electronic noise that their screens become completely useless. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to have a conversation in a quiet room and suddenly someone turns on a dozen leaf blowers right next to you. That's essentially what the Growler does to enemy radar operators. Their systems are desperately trying to find and track aircraft, but all they're getting is a wall of electronic static. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The Growler doesn't just carry jamming pods, it's also equipped with the ALQ-227 communication countermeasures. This system specifically targets enemy communications, disrupting radio networks and data links. In modern warfare, communication is everything. If you can cut off an enemy's ability to coordinate, to share information, to call for backup, you've already won half the battle. And if jamming isn't enough, the Growler has another trick up its sleeve. It can carry AGM-88 HARM missiles, which stands for High-Speed Anti-Radiation Missile. These are specifically designed to home in on radar emissions and destroy them. So if an enemy turns on their radar to try to find incoming aircraft, they're essentially painting a target on themselves. The harm missile will ride that radar beam right back to its source and eliminate the threat permanently. This capability is called SEAD, or Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses, and it's absolutely critical in modern combat. Before any major strike package goes in, you need to clear a path through the enemy's air defense network. The Growler is the aircraft that makes that possible. But here's what really sets the Growler apart from older electronic warfare platforms. It's fast. The EA-6B Prowler had a top speed of around 560 miles per hour. The Growler, it can hit Mach 1.8, which is over 1,300 miles per hour. That means it can keep up with the strike fighters it's protecting, operate at the same altitudes, and if things go sideways, it can fight its way out. Because make no mistake, this isn't a defenseless support aircraft. The Growler still has the capability to carry IM-120 air-to-air missiles for self-defense. It's got one of the most advanced radar warning receivers ever installed on a tactical aircraft. And the pilots flying these things are fighter pilots who know how to handle themselves in a dogfight if necessary. The Growler first entered service with the Navy in 2009, and it completely transformed how the United States conducts electronic warfare. The last EA-6B Prowler was retired in 2015, with the Growler taking over all carrier-based jamming missions. And since then, it's been involved in pretty much every major conflict and operation you can think of. During operations against ISIS, Growlers were absolutely essential. They would fly ahead of strike packages, jamming enemy communications and making sure that coalition aircraft could operate safely. In the complex airspace over Syria, where multiple nations and factions were operating with overlapping air defense systems, the Growler's ability to map out and suppress threats was invaluable. The same thing applies to any potential high-end conflict. If you're going up against a near-peer adversary with sophisticated integrated air defense systems, modern radar networks, and advanced surface-to-air missiles, you absolutely need electronic warfare capabilities. The Growler gives commanders the ability to penetrate defended airspace, protect their forces, and accomplish the mission. Now, the Navy operates Growlers in specialized squadrons called Tactical Electronic Warfare Squadrons. These units are staffed with some of the most highly trained personnel in naval aviation. Each Growler has a pilot in the front seat and an electronic warfare officer, or EWO, in the back seat. The EWO is the person actually operating all those jamming systems, managing the electronic battle, deciding which threats to jam, which to track, and when to employ countermeasures. It's an incredibly complex job. The EWO is looking at displays showing dozens or even hundreds of electronic emitters, trying to identify which ones are threats, determining their capabilities and ranges, and coordinating with other aircraft in the package. They're essentially conducting a symphony of electronic warfare, and they have to make split-second decisions that can mean the difference between mission success and catastrophe. And the training for these crews is intense. They spend countless hours in simulators, learning to recognize different radar signatures, practicing jamming techniques, and rehearsing responses to threats. Because in the real world, there's no margin for error. If you miss a threat, if you jam the wrong frequency, if you don't coordinate properly with the strike package, people can die. One of the coolest things about the Growler is how it integrates with the rest of the carrier wing. Modern naval aviation is all about networked warfare. Every aircraft is sharing data, communicating, building a complete picture of the battle space. The Growler fits right into that network, feeding information about enemy electronic emissions to the rest of the force. This means that a Super Hornet driver can see on their display exactly where enemy radar systems are located, what their range is, and whether they're being jammed, all thanks to the Growler operating nearby. It's this kind of integration that makes the American military so effective at what they do. Now, you might be wondering, what's next for the Growler? Well, the Navy is already working on upgrades. They're developing the Next Generation Jammer, or NGJ, which will replace those ALQ-999 pods we talked about earlier. The NGJ is going to be significantly more powerful, more flexible, and capable of jamming across a wider range of frequencies. It's also going to be able to target multiple threats simultaneously with much greater precision. The first version, called NGJ Midband, is already being delivered and focuses on the most commonly used radar frequencies. Future versions will cover low-band and high-band frequencies, giving the Growler the ability to jam pretty much anything that emits electromagnetic energy. And that's crucial because potential adversaries aren't sitting still. Countries like China and Russia are constantly developing more advanced radar systems, more sophisticated air defense networks, and new ways to counter American electronic warfare capabilities. It's an endless cycle of measure and countermeasure, and the Growler has to stay ahead of that curve. What's really fascinating is how electronic warfare is becoming more important, not less, as